Yeah, that's true. Well, you know,
Pretty bad.
but now that there's the vaccine, it's going to be hot vax summer. That's what I saw.
Oh
Hot
God,
vax summer.
no.
Did you guys see that? I saw that. People are going to be. You guys remember all those articles like, oh, after the vaccine, like this is going to be a sex revolution. Everybody's going to be fucking. And then like, pictures of like
disgusting,
Sexless.
Don't know.
Just a country full of people that are unable to actually maintain eye contact in person. So I'm at Slavoid T.
All right, this is Shit Spouter 37.
This is Black.com pilled.
This is the Fed Post.
it's just a way for them to promote the fucking vaccine. I mean, they got all these fucking nightmarish, musicals to promote the vaccine.
Musicals.
They're so ugly.
God. You think I'm joking,
like
COHF? You haven't seen it?
Situation.
No, I've not seen any musical.
Slav, you haven't seen it either?
Oh, are you talking about the Barbie girl vaccine song?
Wait,
I'm a Pfizer girl.
I honestly thought that was a bit.
Well, I don't know. I can't tell anymore.
I think these are actual lib theater people who just want to promote the vaccine.
Yeah,
I mean, it could
employees.
be a bit. Who knows? That would be really sophisticated if it was.
Honestly, it feels it's like it's almost kind of like what we were talking about earlier of the predictions of right wingers and how you shouldn't doubt that stuff anymore. When in doubt, just don't assume anything is a bit anymore. Just learn from the past. It probably isn't a joke. These people are just maladjusted.
Yeah, these people are sick.
Yeah.
I did expose myself to the woman who made all of the musicals. I scrolled down to see old ones, and she made this one that was it was before the election. It was this ironic once Trump's out, everything's gonna be great, but she was obviously it was basically we can't go back to brunch, we still have to do the work. So she made a bit about that. So yeah, it's definitely not a bit. Yeah,
I saw that one. Yeah. She was making fun of people celebrating the vaccine. It's very next level. It's next level shit. Shit. It's just we can't celebrate because there's still a lot of work to do, guys.
Yeah.
It's what the fuck? Still a lot of photos of Biden and Kamala walking around. The White House. Still work.
Did y'all see?
To be done.
Did y'all see the pictures of Biden and Kamala next to the Carters? And they're
yes,
they're
giants
not
next
Kamala,
to them.
but yeah.
I forgot about that. That shit was fucking weird, dude.
And then they were fact check. It's just because of a wide angle lens and a small cramped space.
That's the wildest fucking fact check.
We know that Biden's dead. That was photoshopped.
Right.
Come on, you can't tell me otherwise.
No, Biden is a giant truther. Biden and Kamala are both giants. They've just been hiding it from us.
That's the wildest fucking fact check. Is be no, it's not weird. It's not weird. I know it feels weird, but it's not. It's what?
And that was weird. There on Twitter, on the trending page or the news page for 2 days or something.
Fact checking has it's not even fact. I mean, obviously it's never really fact checking, but it's not even the slightest bit fact checking. It's you shouldn't even feel weird about this. It's telling you not only what's true or false, but how to feel about it.
Right.
They'll
exactly.
fact check satire, and you're yeah. No one was saying that this was a fact. What? I don't know. It's crazy. They'll be this Onion article is actually full of lies. You're yeah, no shit.
Right. Slav, did you see that? Do you see the photo, the Carter photo?
I didn't actually.
You should check it out because it's very weird. And the thing that people keep saying is that it's, which you'll appreciate. They say that it's Lynchian because the proportions are all weird.
It
for real is Lynchian.
It looks like they're in the. It looks like they're in the fucking.
Oh my
in the red room in fucking Twin Peaks or something.
Biden looks like the tall guy, whatever his name is.
Yeah, the giant.
Yeah, he's the giant from the Black Lodge, and these are the fucking two old people from the end of Mulholland Drive.
Yeah,
that are just gonna shrink down and walk under the crack under your door and scream at you with fucking strobe lights. They're so small. This is viral marketing for that new Resident Evil with a large woman. This is disgusting. Also, Jimmy Carter and his wife basically look like they're from an Aphex Twin music video. They have the same face.
I didn't like think they were dead, but I didn't necessarily even know they were still alive.
See, again,
no, they're very much alive because
Clearly.
they just they're on life support so that they can just like pose in like Photoshop or photo ops, like building houses for Reddit updates. It's a fucking nightmare, man.
No, this is another example of the right being right, because like when we had that CGI Biden shit with his hand going through the mic, I was like, he's not dead. Come on, like let's be real. Like they probably just need to, he's sleeping and they got to do this. And now I'm like, yo, he might be fucking dead. He might be fucking dead.
Have him like walking out to the helicopter for some reason.
I'll be honest. I think Biden looks pretty good in this photo, unless we're saying that he's photoshopped in. It doesn't look like he is. I think I'm
convinced he's dead. I'm convinced now. I apologize to the right wingers again. This is like the 100th time you guys have owned me. I'm sorry for saying that was stupid. You guys are right. My bad.
He's totally dead.
Just don't doubt it. Just don't doubt it. I gotta say, Mrs. Carter is doing pretty well for being so close to someone with such a high level of virility as Joe Biden.
Oh my god!
He's keeping himself from smelling her hair, which is good.
That's the real photo. That's the before Photoshop photo.
Oh my god! I mean, remember like 2 years ago at the beginning of the primaries when everyone was like, even the libs were saying like Biden is like senile. He's not making any sense. He's gonna die soon. Why is he even running? And now he's our fucking president.
Yeah, it's
and
true.
now you're crazy if you think he's senile, or if you think that he's stuttering, you're like ableist or something.
Yeah,
I always bring this up. Julian Castro and fucking G-rated fucking Cory Booker both got in like a little bit of hot water for calling him out on it on the debate stage.
Yeah, I remember that.
And it's like, come on, guys. It's a joke. I mean, honestly, like everybody was concerned about it. And I mean, nobody even really fucking wanted him. Like, I never saw anybody that was like even like enthusiastic about him at all during the whole primary.
It's just crazy. Like, they can literally do whatever they want,
Yeah, exactly.
They can just like manufacture whatever kind of reality they want.
Yeah, I mean, not to keep harping on the rig thing, but I mean, look at when you see this shit, you see him falling, you see all this stuff, and it's like, all right, this is weird. Like, I don't remember a time when there was this much fact checking to prove that he's alive and he's conscious. And he's the fact, I don't believe this shit until they fact check, until they're like, yo, he's alive. Right. Don't worry about it. Then I'm like, wait, so he's not. I'm like, why the fuck are you saying that? Like,
I'm reading a PolitiFact article right now that says geriatrics experts say Brit Hume's claim that Joe Biden is senile is wrong. So they're fact checking the fact that he's not senile.
Well, can I get a Pinocchio count on that one?
Senile.
Dude, I'm honestly just sitting here full screen mode, just staring at this fucking Carter
for
picture.
real, it's hypnotic. It's fucking.
It is hypnotic. Like, I think what makes it Lynchian is two things: the color of the room, which I respect Mrs. Carter's decor choices for sure. Mm-hmm. The framed pictures, classy. But more than anything, Jimmy Carter's out of angle with the rest of his body, perfectly straightforward shoes. He's like he's sitting in a weird position. I don't know. I'm like, this is a piece of art. I'm gonna have this fucking frame.
For real. He's doing the terrorist fist bump with
oh my god,
Joe Biden.
He's doing the fit. Well, it makes him look so much older that he just has a fist and she's just like holding on to it.
Oh my god,
and bro, so weird.
Bro, you know what they said?
Tragic.
They said that it's because of the lens. It's a wide lens and a strong flash. I'm not fucking kidding you. In the fact check, that's what they said. And they're saying it's an optical illusion. That's what they said about him in front of the helicopter. Mm-hmm. Like, it's an optical illusion. And there was all these fact checks of like how it works and whatever. Like,
just the fact that they have to keep doing this. I mean, that's very telling.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, what are they gonna say next? Like, there's Dutch angles and fisheye lenses. Like, they're getting experimental. Like, what the it's a Hype Williams music. What the fuck are you talking about? Yeah, what the fuck are you saying? Like, yo,
they're gonna start having press conferences where Biden speaks in reverse and then they play it back. It's just I love the Antichrist over and over again. Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, the point of, like, even beyond all this conspiracy stuff, like the whole point very obviously of this photo op is to just make him and his wife look not as fucking old as they are. And it seems to be working because Jimmy Carter is in the fucking Benjamin Button phase of having the expression of an infant. He's like, he's like, this is the end of 2001 for ex-president Jimmy Carter. Yeah, I don't know.
Aww.
Yeah, it's bizarre.
Him and his wife are kind of cute though.
Yeah, they look very cute.
Yeah,
they're like
even though they're fucking mass murderers.
I think Carter had
relatively
some good speeches back in the day.
I mean, yeah, they're all reptiles, but he's, relatively, he's one of the less reptile-y ones. He's got less scales than the rest.
Fuck that. He was the appetizer for neoliberalism.
Yeah, no, these people are sick.
They're all sick.
Fuck Jimmy Carter. I hated Jimmy Carter especially bad just because he is the kind of the go-to of like the somewhat permissible lib. And
that's true,
anyways, we don't need to go down that.
No, you're right. I mean, it starts with Reagan in my mind, and all these other ones are just variations of him, or like lib variations of Reagan, like ending with like Clinton and Obama. Yeah, but I mean, it's all the same filth, except for the lion, Trump. The one. I gotta defend the lion.
It's so fucked up. Like everything that Trump did is just erased now with a few executive orders. It's like it never happened.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know. Whatever you want to say about that photo or all these weird CGI things or whatever, like whatever. I mean, maybe it's real, whatever. But the point being, I mean, this guy, he's I said it last, he's barely there, and they're gonna put Kamala in. This is gonna be Kamala as president in like a couple, in a year or two, and we're just all just gonna be like, yeah, I guess she's our president now.
Well, you better be happy about it. First woman president in CRK. That's a huge step in the right direction.
WOC, right.
Progress. And the first daughter is going to be Ella Emhoff.
Oh my!
I can't get past that.
I can't.
I'm embarrassed that I lived in Bushwick because she's now the face of Bushwick. You know what I mean? I'm like,
she's whenever people don't personified.
Yeah, whenever people don't know her name, like really, and I bring her up, oh, you mean like Little Bushwick? Like people literally call her Little Bushwick. I'm like, oh my god.
Is that like some kind of SoundCloud rapper name? She's got like,
it sounds like that.
Little Bushwick.
Have you seen all her photos, like where she's posing with these weird ass outfits? Like this, every week is a new Elmo dress
for no reason.
I know.
She looks like a germ.
So bad. I would hit her with my car. I'm sorry. I would. She irritates the hell out of me.
She looks like someone I'd like, just like sometimes when I'm like with my friend, like, and we pass like a specific kind of person, I just look at them and I'm like, oh, New York. And like, that's the type of person that would spark that in me.
Yeah, she's definitely judgmentally looked at me for not having a jacket made out of soy or something. Or, you know what I mean? That's definitely a gluten-free jacket. Like, that's definitely happened before. That's that type of person.
She was looking at your jacket and she just knew it wasn't ethically prepared.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Gosh, she looks like a germ is just fucking... Because she looks like... She kind of has that thing going where she looks like kind of like...
She looks
like
sickly.
She she looks sickly and her hair kind of just looks like wet in some way. Kind of damp.
She looks sweating out of fever.
Yes.
Yeah, I was about to say she looks wet all the time, but that kind of implies something I don't want to go. But like
she looks greasy.
No, exactly. She's got
How
permanent
old is she?
damp face.
Does anybody know?
21.
Okay, I was going to say she looks young. Like she looks
21.
Very...
Well, she's either like 14 or like 40.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes, that's exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, she looks like a librarian in a lot of ways. A germ librarian. Someone's gonna edit out CRK saying "looks like a germ" and just like use that for some kind of like Nazi meme.
We'll see what said it, so he'll take the heat for that. See what
eugenics.
Well, no, that's just like when what's his name, Movie Bob said that me saying Bugman was anti-Semitic.
That's right. I forgot about that shit, yo.
I was like, that's some Bugman shit. He's like, obvious Nazi anti-Semitic dog whistle here.
What? I mean, that's what I don't get. And also people think that saying like the elites is also anti-Semitic. I mean, like you're the one coming up with making that association. I didn't say anything about Jewish people.
I get that all the time. Be like, oh, it sounds like you're saying the Jew. I'm like, yo, what's in your head? Get your mind out the gutter.
I wasn't thinking that.
Yeah, I told you that in
Books have
private.
you
What the
been
fuck you
reading?
saying? Like, yeah.
Get your mind out the bagels. Come on.
No, woke schools are definitely like the most like racist, anti-Semitic. Like,
Yeah.
all-
If you're always thinking everything in a racial lens, eventually you're gonna say some fucked up shit. Like if you're constantly thinking that way and you constantly have like hard boundaries and borders of what defines each group, then shit, yeah, you're gonna say some problematic shit probably down the line. Like you're gonna say that in the name
Well, it's
of
also
being
that's
woke.
also why like normies just like let these people just like completely take over the discourse and everything. It's because everybody kind of just makes the choice to be like, look, like I don't really want to engage in this. Like I don't want to put my foot in my mouth. I mean, what? It just at a cursory glance, it looks like they're kind of just saying that they want equality. I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to wade into this because it's just not worth the risk. And like I'm just like convinced that's why most normies, you know, are pretty much just like, you know, just kind of just like let it go on. Like who cares? It's not worth the hassle. It's not worth the risk of just saying something that then someone's just going to be like, oh, so you're just like subhuman.
Well, you saw what's her name, Bree Newsome or whatever, like on TV laughing at that white lady who was she was like a mom at some
that was
meeting.
satanic, dude.
Yeah, and she's like, I just like don't want my kids learning like critical race theory in kindergarten, identifying other children by like based on a color palette that they're given. I don't think that's like very good. And she's just like, she's like, I don't think it makes me racist. And then cut to Bree Newsome just like on MSNBC or whatever, and it's like, yeah, bitch, that makes you racist.
Right.
Holy shit, is that like one of the main anchors like saying that? Or
Yeah.
Oh my god. Now
Yeah,
CNN, it's TikTok vids on CNN. That's what it is. Like, it's like woke TikTokers.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just chicks doing female like smug soy face pointing at floating text in the frame.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's pretty
That's the
bad.
future
Yeah.
of the fucking news is fucking TikTok bullshit. Like
They'll just be
woke
staring,
TikTok
looking
vids.
at you with the bug eyes pointing to their left and then to their right at different levels.
Exactly.
As words pop up on the screen. They're like, yeah.
Exactly. Stop reading Bukowski. Stop reading problematic, toxic white males. Like that type of shit.
Oh God.
And the funniest, the like what like that clip. The clip is like, yeah, the lady's like, I don't want my kids being taught critical race theory. That doesn't make me racist. And then she's like, yeah, it does. And then she's like, just like how opposing trans kids who just want to, you know,
She
just
loves it.
just want to play sports. And it's like,
they just
all
want to
right.
swing a bat, you know.
Yeah, and it's the sleight of hand, right? Of just being like, all right, well, while we're at it, I'm just going to throw in a bunch of other baseline assumptions while the viewership is in this kind of emotional state.
Just trying to lay out the ideological line real quick that you need to toe, just like all in one sentence for you.
Yeah, it's like basic con man shit, right? Of just like you just get someone like feeling good on something you said, and then you're like, yeah, and while you're all stoked up, like, you know, just throw in like just really fast, say it kind of quick, maybe a little less quiet or a little quieter, like some other shit that's like a lot more dramatic, but like fuck it, man. Exactly.
Like, yeah, you can borrow my car, you know, fill the tank up with gas and wash it afterwards, but you can borrow it. It's nothing.
No, exactly.
Well, the thing is, normies are extremely bright and like see the contradictions. Like they do see it. So when you really talk about it, they're, I don't know, really receptive to the idea that the contradictions are so there and it can't be like ignored to an extent, like especially with like gender stuff too, when you're like talking about like how can you simultaneously say that like, you know, you have to be able to transition from identity to identity, but then also say that these things don't have genders, like colors don't have genders, hobbies don't have genders, but also be like, oh, if I feel this way, like I'm a woman, or you're like essentializing, you know?
No, exactly. Who I think is like a good barometer for where the normie's at least in my experience, is like Rogan, like Joe Rogan. He's got that, what you're saying, Kaz, of like, he's perceptive. He's like perceptive. He's not smart,
Well,
you know what I mean? But he's perceptive.
But he's dangerous because he platforms the alt-right or something. something like that.
Right. And he got flamed recently for being like, if you're young, you don't need to take the vaccine.
Yeah.
He kind of just rolled on that a little bit because he was just like, it's like the Slav, what you were saying, what we've said before, is like it's just easier to just go along with the shit, like less hassle or whatever. But
exactly. It's like I was like, well, and the funny thing too is what he was saying about the vaccine is like, but he didn't even say anything like super dramatic. It was basically just like, yeah, it's like less of a need if you're young to get it, which is the same shit that like Fauci has literally fucking said.
Yeah.
Like Fauci didn't like advocate for like young people to specifically not get it, but neither did Joe Rogan.
All the libs freaked the fuck out about that shit. They were like, typing in all caps, freaking the fuck out or whatever, anti-vax shit or whatever. But yeah, the trans thing too, like he had somebody just posted this in the group chat of like, he had talked to somebody and was just like, they were like, oh, well, the hormonal therapy or whatever, some lib celeb Adam Cadover or something, I forget what his name is. But he was just like, yeah, my friend's parents were doing that. And he's just like, yeah, but like that is a choice. He was just like, no, it's not a choice. That's what the kid wants. So it's not an option. It's not like you're forcing anything. It's just natural. And he's like, there's nothing natural about that. You're making a deliberate choice on this kid's life. You're like putting something into them and changing their like physical state. Like, and he's like, if the kid actually believes they're a girl or whatever, then what do you need all this extra shit for? Shouldn't they just be, aren't they just that? Like, and the guy had no response. It was just like an awkward pause. And it's a normie take. It's like a very normie, it's just that insightful thing. They're not as bug brain caught up in all the mental gymnastics that the libs pump out. So they don't know like all these games that they do. And they're just like, well, that doesn't make any sense on his face. Like, and they have no answer for that. It's
just so contrary to like the actual facts of reality, like the material facts of reality, that when you're like just showing it, you're just immediately like, wait a minute, like what the fuck are you talking about? And like it doesn't take being that perceptive to just know like what's going on around you isn't at all like this bullshit that people are telling.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I mean, I think the normie opinion is like, and with the Rogan thing, they kept like discrediting him over the vaccines. Like, well, he's not a doctor. He's a more. You seen this fucking Jimmy Kimmel shit that they put out where they're like, oh, look at all my diplomas. You should get the vaccine. Stop listening to your retarded friends on Facebook, or whatever. Listen to us. We're the experts.
Yeah.
You guys, you see what you didn't see that, Slav? You didn't see that.
It just screams like desperation.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. Yeah.
All this like ridiculous, retarded credentialism, like you have to listen to me. It's absolutely insane.
Yeah, it was so blatant. They were just like, oh, the rates of vaccinations are decreasing. People are skipping their second doses, like millions of people. 30% don't want any shot at all. And they're just like, they're basically saying like, you guys need to shut the fuck up, grow up, listen to us. We're credentialed. I know where this obscure bone is in your body. Your friend doesn't. Why are you listening to them? That was the whole. It was very like it's a parody. It's a parody. It's something we would like make up as a joke, and it's just like they're just on their face.
Crazy is that like there are so many credentialed doctors and scientists or whatever who also say you don't need the vaccine, but they're just not given a platform. It's always the credentialed ones who go with the the dominant narrative that are given a platform.
Yep.
I just googled the Jimmy Kimmel vaccine thing, and I'm seeing right now that Jimmy Kimmel has got something to do with hosting tonight something called Vax Live, a concert to reunite the world, which is going to air on TV at 8 p.m. Eastern time. That's going to have Selena Gomez, Foo Fighters, Prince Harry, Meghan Markle, and other world leaders, and it's going to be on ABC tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern.
Yo, it's gonna be lit.
Selena Gomez and other world leaders.
Yeah. I was just thinking. All right, folks, let's put those hands together. Let me hear you say, "I love the Antichrist."
Wait, hold up. Boris Johnson. Selena Gomez is right now tweeting about Boris Johnson's gonna be. Wait, no, never mind. She's trying to pressure him into doing it. Anyways, I'm seeing some crazy shit in this article. They're doing some like.
I would watch it if Boris Johnson was going on.
I was about to say that's crazy if that was happening.
They're on the back heel. It feels like they're they wanted to create this, and this is the thing with the normie thing too, is like normie opinions are are crazy and fringe, right? They have to make it that way because, you know, they're a small group. I always say this, the elites are a small group. The rich people are a small group. Like they know, like their opinions are not popular, but they have to frame it in a way where that if you dissent from them, which most people do, you're crazy, you're fringe. And this whole like, oh, if you don't want the vaccine, you're a crazy anti-vaxxer or whatever who believes in 5G or whatever. And 30% of people don't want it. And millions of people skip the second. I mean, like they're on the back heel because it's like it goes completely counter to their narrative that they've got a monopoly.
Yeah, this is literally gaslighting.
Yeah.
And they won't ever admit to it.
Yeah, it's the same thing with the woke thing. It's like, oh, anybody who's got like, you know, this country's full of Nazis. Like the average normie is a Nazi because they're not as woke or whatever. It's like they have to make normie basic. Like Rogan's a Nazi or Rogan's a transphobe. Like they have to say that.
Or like the U.S. is the most racist country. It's like, are you fucking kidding me? No.
Right.
Or like our number one problem is white supremacy. You know, like that's something that AOC is constantly saying. I mean, how can you be that idiotic? It doesn't make any sense. It's just not true.
Yeah, it's just so weird. Like the way they, I don't know, they try to, and this goes into what I think about like the election being rigged too. But like this, they just want to make normie shit like Joe Rogan shit seem fringe when it's not. I mean, the most apolitical random dude in you know in this country who likes UFC and doesn't really care about politics, they like Joe Rogan and they believe a lot of things he believes. It's mostly apolitical. I mean, he talks to political people, but he's not like an ideologue. You know what I mean? So, you know, that's why they have to, they look crazy making him seem fringe when he's really just like the baseline.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's just basic. I mean, he's kind of just basic room temperature, sort of libertarian, you know, like just kind of nothing. It's just kind of like moderate lib of like 10 years ago or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is funny because that's also like, those are also like the kind of like ideological backgrounds that like a lot of the modern right came from, right? Like never forget that like a lot of like dissident right people were like involved in like new atheist shit, stuff like that, right? It's like a lot of this stuff did just like come from just normal mainstream dominant lib shit, and I think that just has like a negative effect on just like how deranged like modern left has to be, right? Because it needs to define itself in opposition to these things, and if the person it needs to contrast itself against is basically just like, you know, just kind of run-of-the-mill shit that was just everywhere in media the last several decades, then like, yeah, it's just increasingly more garish and retarded shit every day because it has to be.
It's hard to make it seem crazy and fringe because it's hard to differentiate because it isn't even as it's not more apolitical than anything that people consider political, because a lot of the political discussions are not even in any way political. They're very like identitarian and all of these things that like white supremacy, like what politically in terms of like power and resources does that even mean? So when the political discussions aren't even political themselves, how do you differentiate what's political and what's apolitical? And then you make someone sound like a Nazi for being apolitical, but you are being apolitical because you're talking about these like signifiers that aren't political and don't really mean anything.
Right. It's all shit like in your head. Like it has nothing to do with how things are organized or there's not much systemic shit to it.
Yeah, it's all the personal becoming political.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how they. It's weird. I mean, look, the 30% thing is not consensus. I'm not. Yeah, I mean, obviously that's not. But again, I think like these things when they poll people, like you have to factor in the social coercion. Like people are more likely to say that they will get the vaccine even if they don't want to.
Yeah, dude.
I feel that's the social pressure goes one way. It goes the lib way. I mean, that's the reality.
My friends from back home, I was visiting when I stopped by and through Alabama. His girlfriend was asking me like if I was vaccinated yet or if I was going to get the vaccine. And I like waited for a second and was just like, nah, like I don't even know where to get it right now, like blah, blah, to kind of see like what I just wanted to kind of fire it back to them and see what their stance was on it before I leaned into what my think it was. Because like, if I was just like, nah, I don't even need to care about that for real, then like, who knows what would happen? Like, it might be someone freaking out. Like, I've had people in Denver freak out at me when I told them I didn't want the vaccine. Like, even before it was an option, like when it was just being made, I was like, I don't know, that sounds kind of like sketchy. People were like, you need to get it, bro. So now it's like, you don't even want to share your thoughts on it. You're just like waiting to see like what the other person, if you're going to be chastised or not for it.
For sure. I think this with a lot of shit, the woke shit and this vaccine shit is a similar thing where people will tell you one thing in private. They'll be like, yeah, for sure. But then this is bullshit. And then, you know, but they can't say it in public. And it's like, that's a big thing that it's like a big, when they poll like consensus or whatever, like it's something that I don't get why it's brushed away, but like that's something you need to factor in. Like, of course, that coercion is there. Like if you're polling people and getting a temperature gauge on what the normie thinks or the consensus is, you have to factor in that pressure's there. It's a reality. Yeah, you wouldn't know that. I mean, unless you, exactly. Yeah, you have to know that. I mean, you only wouldn't know that if you don't talk to anybody normal. Like, you know, that's I mean, but I mean, I don't know. That was the weird thing with the Rogan thing. And I guess this other thing that had happened was the well, I don't know. This is kind of, I don't know if we should talk about this that much, but like that guy beating himself. That video.
So sad.
What the fuck is this? So
it's
just
so painful to watch.
Themselves?
Yeah.
Well, SLAV and COH hadn't seen it because they're off Twitter, so like they just seen it.
Good for you guys.
Yeah. I mean, no one needs to see it. I mean, it was just viral because Tariq, the guy who posted it, was like a race baiting guy. He says that's his brand. He tells you that's my brand. Like he had posted it and like, you know, he was going like viral for it. Like everybody was talking about it for a day. But
I love that he posted this thinking that it would actually like help his position.
Did he? My question is, did he? Like, I don't know.
For people who don't know,
I mean, I went through the replies and it looks like that's the position he was taking. Yeah.
Oh, he doubled down on it for sure. He said like, if you look at this video and you think that it was wrong to record or whatever, or you side with the hotel employee, then you're like a white supremacist.
Wait, this is a hotel employee?
What?
So
he was clearly like, you know, unwell and, you know, maybe had like autism or whatever.
My boy. Okay.
Yeah. Don't just look at
solidarity.
I mean, the guy's having an anxiety. I mean, it's funny because I was right before I watched this. I was like going down an internet rabbit hole of just like trying to just parse out like why it had come up in an interpersonal relationship recently. Just like someone I know just doing the whole like cancel culture doesn't even exist, which like I guess like depending on how you want to define your terms may or may not be true. It's clearly like a rhetorical sleight of hand, and I'm trying to just like parse that out a little bit. And then I watched this video, and clearly like what's happening is this guy's having a panic attack, as he says in the fucking video, like, you're ruining my life because he's freaking out because this guy is recording him, right? Which means, right, that there's a distinct possibility that just he's going to be thrust in against his will to, you know, the public spotlight. I mean, we don't know that for sure in the moment, but it clearly did, right? He's going to be thrown into the public spotlight. He's going to lose his fucking job. All of these things, right? All of these things that like are directly dismissed when you say things like this social phenomenon doesn't exist, right? And I don't know, it's just like, it's concerning to me. And if you have that view, right, this cancel culture doesn't exist, this isn't a thing that's actually real at all, then like you wouldn't understand his reaction at all, right? The assumptions he's making when he sees someone holding a fucking phone in his face. And that's,
he knows the consequences.
Yeah, that's what's fucking happening, right? Like, I don't even think the guy needs to be like retarded or autistic or anything. Like, he's having a fucking anxiety attack, and then he kind of just reverts to self-harm coping mechanisms, which is like not super uncommon.
So, that's what's so funny. Like,
he freaks originally the fuck out.
So there's a black guy recording him, and basically the way Tariq framed it was that, you know, he just said this white employee snapping at a meltdown in front of a black employee.
Someone, okay.
Yeah, well, I don't know what he said specifically, but he just made the point that this guy's white and he's melting down in front of a black person.
Here, I can read it really fast. It's a white Holiday Inn Express worker. I'm glad that he specified that it was Holiday Inn Express. Has a nervous breakdown after he got scolded by a black customer because of a mistake in the reservation system, which is funny because the use of the word scolding and then because of a mistake in the reservation system makes it sound like he isn't like he's on the side of this guy.
No,
but then you look at his reply.
The customer is the bad person, like no doubt about it. If you're just bitching at someone and making them have a panic attack because there's a mistake in their reservations that like probably took a total of 2.5 to 3 minutes of your time, you're a massive piece of shit. So you should maybe be recorded and posted online and not just recording the poor guy who's like trying to deal with it. So that's what happened. He just like did it show what the mistake was or anything, or is it just this poor guy having a panic attack?
No, and that's one of the reasons that I'm like trying to really like just emphasize that like the guy could just be having a fucking panic attack. He doesn't need to be like retarded or anything, is because I'm like looking at all the replies and like it's relevant that people need to justify why this should be taken down by saying this person's disabled, which again we don't know the guy because it's like, okay, so if he didn't have a mental problem, I mean, you guys know what I'm saying, but if he didn't have mental problems, then this would be fine. Like
I saw some right wing guy was like making a smart right wing guy was like making a similar point about it. It was like he was saying like the libs have to rationalize this reaction as it's a product of mental illness, when it's like like the society is mentally ill. This is fucked up shit, and he's reacting in a pretty sane way. Like I mean he's overreacting obviously, but he's like it's not insane. Like his reaction isn't insane if you know the consequences of what's going to happen. People's lives get ruined over this shit. Like
let's beyond that, it just sucks being in that scenario as a person who's working the computer looking up reservations. If you just like maybe you misspelled the guy's name or whatever, and someone's just coming at you like that just sucks to be in that situation. I've been that. And
90% of the time, it's not even your fault.
100%. Not 100%, but most of the time, it's not.
I'm looking at some fucking blue check in here. Some fucking writer. I love at Holiday Inn for being willing to hire an employee despite his mental health issues. Yada 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 yada. Again, it's just like this
poor guy. He's not retarded, probably.
This is how the fucking left works, though, right? You accept one assumption, right? One framing device, and then it paints everything after that, right? And so like cancel culture does exist, but because you need to accept the framing that it doesn't, the only way that you're allowed to oppose someone just being a fucking psycho posting something like this online is by saying, look, I'm being, a voice for the voiceless. This guy's for a marginalized community. If he was some fucking garbage brain fucking Mayo demon, this would be okay, is the implication there. And it's just like, no, you shouldn't fucking do this to people. It also just like doesn't help that like this has been something that has been strengthened with all of the police brutality videos and everything, is everyone just being like, look, man, like I need to go outside with my camera phone just because like who knows when I just need to like pull it out to like defend myself in a situation, and people are just destroying each other, recording people.
Those are all the responses I got. Like, because I quoted, or I didn't quote it, I don't know. I just said like, stop recording interactions.
Right.
Like, and everyone's like, except cops. Like, and it's like, clearly he's not like, that dude wasn't a cop. Like, I don't know. And you're right. Like, they have to create another victimization narrative to be able to legitimize why this was different. So like this was another victim. So you can't, like, this one is bad, but it doesn't mean that.
Exactly. And it's like, and it's less like about like the specific story here itself and more that just like this structure of ideology makes it so that this story can be used to reinforce it. And like being able to identify that is like fucking important, right?
No, I think everybody should be wearing body cams at all times, not just cops. I think we should all have every interaction just have a body cam on you.
It's very asocial, the whole idea of recording these interactions. Instead of, I guess, person to person, like working. Yeah. It's like you become, again, this like judge and jury, or at least prepare yourself for the public to be a judge and jury to decide after the fact, instead of just be a fucking human and speak to another human and work through some shit.
Just do some normal shit and like figure out the problem and get to a resolution for it, or don't and walk away, you know? Like what?
Yeah. It's very dehumanizing, turning every interpersonal interaction into like a spectacle for the public to look at and to dissect and to draw whatever meaning they want from it, even though they weren't there and there's no context.
Well, it's narcissistic too, because like no one gives a fuck about your life, and like you're just day to day. Oh, some dude fucked up your reservation at a hotel. Boo-hoo, man. Like, what
Who cares?
the hell?
It happens all the time. You think I'm gonna whip out a phone and like record my waiter for getting my order wrong or whatever?
But they're trying to the framing they're trying to make is that it's racially motivated or whatever. And this what's so funny about it is like, again, like, you know, it only takes a matter of time for the woke shit to parody itself, to become like an extreme, whatever straw man version you can make of woke shit. They're gonna do it eventually. And this is one of those things where it's like, this guy's literally hitting himself, but that's racist against you. Like, what do you? I was joking, like, oh, somebody does heroin under a bridge and is like killing himself. It's like, yo, that guy, he did it racistly, fascistically. Like, what are you talking about? Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's not doing anything to you. And honestly, the whole interaction doesn't even have to do with race. Honestly, like,
there was a black hobo that could have been doing that heroin. Okay.
Well, also apparently the guy who recorded the video was calling the employee like homophobic slurs. Yeah. Like that's really.
Yeah, we say the word here.
Faggot. Okay, good.
Yeah, we're woke. We say the word.
Yeah. Okay. Just had to make sure. But like, I mean, that's obviously going to aggravate him. What? It's awful.
Yeah, and this, I mean, it's a cliche point, but this whole like recording everything all the time, it's cliche to say this, but like, you know, the Instagram, like social media mindset of like, oh, it didn't happen unless it was recorded, or this thing of like, you know, everything is like about optics, like, you know, anything that you can't have a normal interaction with somebody, you got to be like, well, how's this going to be seen on the timeline? Like, what's the you got like a third person bird's eye view of everything you do, instead of just having an interaction. And then it's just like, oh, this guy's freaking out. I bet if this is on the timeline, I could paint it like this and I could go viral. It's a weird mindset that everybody's in.
That goes into like how people think that just because you have a Twitter account and you maybe get some attention on it, that every single thing you say needs to be taken super seriously and you need to be held accountable for it. Like, I'm not trying to market myself. I just have a Twitter account and let me say what I want, you know? And I know, CRK, that you've gotten in trouble for things that you're like, I don't know, I was probably high off my mind when I tweeted that. Like, why is this such a big deal?
That's what I'm saying. After you hit the 3K, people start holding you accountable. You know what I mean? Once you hit 3K, now you can be held accountable for stuff that you say. Like,
dude, this is why I think like I don't invoke this concept very often, but I think that shit posting is praxis in that exact way. Just like just inundate the feed with just like all of the passing horseshit thoughts that you had.
Yeah.
And so like you can just fucking, you know, like for every time you post something that seems racially insensitive or something like that, there's like dozens and dozens of like pasta is wet bread posts that just make it so like you really can't take anything they're saying seriously.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's kind of the Trump strategy.
Yeah, you've got to acclimate people to it.
Yeah, I said, if people call you like Nazball or reactionary or racist or whatever, just be like, yeah, sure, whatever. You know, they call you a Nazi, just be like, yeah, whatever, sure.
I don't give a shit. Cool.
Yeah, it's just, you know, I feel like that's the best way to diffuse that shit.
Absolutely, yeah.
Well, one of the things that I think one of the funny things about that too is just that bigotry and everything has undergone huge like definition changes in the last like 10 years and everything. And so just but people refuse to just like slow down and just define what these terms mean in a way that we can like agree on and not just like shuffle around. And so it just like saves a lot of time to just be like, no, like literally by your definition, like I'm a white person that won't acknowledge like my culpability in all of these systems or whatever. Yeah, I'm racist. Yeah, it's
your
fine.
whiteness. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Like by your definition, like as long as we can actually just slow down for a second and just define our terms and then commit to that, as opposed to just like having the fucking, you know, track which cup it is game.
Ever moving goalposts.
Just
well, the
just
confusion
call
is the point.
Yep.
And it's really atomizing and dehumanizing and gross. It's like, I mean, the point is literally to not define the terms and keep the tension.
Yes.
Right. That's why it's always shifting. That's why nobody can keep up. And if people do keep up or figure it out, that's bad for them, right? Then they don't have, there's no exclusivity, or they've got no like monopoly on what is okay. So, you know, they have to keep moving it. Otherwise, it's no good if everybody gets it. If everybody's like, oh shit, this is a new thing. All right, fine. That's no good. Like it doesn't serve its function anymore. It's not useful, which is all it is. It's functional. It's not like any of these people give a fuck about fucking black people or trans people, or they don't give a fuck about any of these people. It's the biggest joke of it all. It's like, this has nothing to do with any of those people, if that is your concern. You know what I mean? So it's just like, but I would say I got another me admitting an L to a right winger. Slav was right about the recording thing, because I remember when there was that video of like, you know, the Karen shit of all the Karens being like recorded or whatever, and I was just like, oh, you know, this is, you know, I don't give a fuck about that woman. Like, I think this is dumb and this is bad, but I don't really give a fuck about her. And Slav was like, no, this is bad. Like this is a bad way of like society processing things. Like, this is a bad trend or whatever.
Yeah.
And this is sort of the thing. He's the Karen. I mean, he's the one. It's a black person, and he's the Karen doing this. I mean, that's what that is.
It's like trying to enforce like public shaming on someone for like just, you know, something that you maybe perceive to be an injustice against you, but probably even wasn't.
Yeah, right. Because it's just it's a functional thing. The races are interchangeable. It's a white woman, it's a black man. It doesn't really matter. It's like it's more about the function of like that public shaming or I'm gonna call your manager. Like anybody could do that. Yeah. So I mean, I guess you're right about that, Slav, for sure. But
just adding it to the list. Just adding it to the list, baby. It's just so disgusting. And then like again, just like they always fucking do, like the leftist brain just comes in to cover for it by just being like, I love the fucking talking point of like, well, you know, cancel culture it just is. I'm not going to shed a tear about you know, some rich person losing their job in some big Fortune 500 company because they said something bad. And like, yeah, there's obviously a kernel of truth to that, right? Like, I don't really care all that much. I think it's obviously morally dubious to just say like my ethics don't apply if the person is rich. Like, I think that's like that's kind of an issue. But
it's not only going to apply to rich people though, because this guy's not rich. This dude who's hitting him. Yeah, exactly. That's
well, no, and that's the whole thing is that, and once again we find ourselves in the murky waters of you can't pin anybody down because there's no actual consistency. That's the whole point, is that people say, oh, cancel culture is just for people, you know, it's just like for rich people and shit like that, and then they just obviously wouldn't consider this in like a part of cancel culture or something like that, which it obviously is. This obviously is what it is, right? But they just characterize a straw man, and then I mean, I guarantee you this just like isn't going to be very popular on left-wing Twitter. Maybe I'm wrong because I'm not on Twitter right now, but no, this will be way more popular on right-wing Twitter, and it'll kind of just, you know, go by quietly among leftoids because it already contradicts their there you go.
Yeah, there's something to be said about that. I mean, obviously there is something to be said about how if you don't have a job, are you making a ton of money, or you don't have a platform to be canceled from, cancel culture is going to obviously have smaller repercussions for you. However, I mean, with this video, it's a perfect example. It, again, like Bella said, is extremely dehumanizing. And I mean, cancel culture, I guess, no longer is transcending the period where it has to be about a platform or even your job. It's like literally, I don't want to sound dramatic, but like basically like making you feel like less than human in a lot of ways.
Yeah, exactly. It's like it's like everyone's laughing at you and mocking you on the internet because you're like a zoo animal or something. And you just exist for their entertainment. That's kind of how the internet works, you know, like everyday person to talk about and to laugh at. Right. And
the main character. Yeah,
exactly.
I hate that phrase.
Even if a lot of people like sympathize with them, like this guy from the hotel, he still did not want to become like a huge internet presence for a day. You know, no one really wants that. That wasn't his intention. This guy just recorded that, and it's just so invasive, you know.
Yeah, this guy was just trying to do the fucking work and make like
exactly. He never wanted any of that. He's just trying to exist. It's and you know, having, you know, internet mobs go after you or talk about you or dissect you or even defend you, it's still like there's still so much dehumanization to that, because you just feel like you're a you know, like an exhibition or something. You're not really like a human.
Yeah, and everybody being isolated during lockdown only exacerbates that, where it's like, oh, I don't even know. You're not in flesh talking to somebody, so you're just like, oh, there's even more aliens, more easy to
exactly.
Right.
It's like everything's a spectacle.
Right.
Cue the elephant man screaming, I'm a human being.
Right. Yeah, I mean, the whole cancel culture not being, I mean, it's so dismissible on its face. I mean, that TikTok lady's literally firing people for what they say.
right.
Getting teens expelled or whatever, and like, and fucking, you know, and there's like legislation they're considering to like have employers be able to fire you for not getting vaxxed. Like, you know, what do you mean? Like, it's, of course it's real, and it's not just applying to rich people. Like, of course, you know what I mean? Again, like CEO was just saying, like, we can't even talk about shit openly with people anymore because there's always this extra pressure of who might tell somebody else, and then that might get back to your job. Like, you know what I mean? We're mostly anonymous online. Like, you know, I mean, it's a joke that anyone would even say that anymore. I mean, I don't know what to say to those people. Like, it's completely dismissible. But
I think this is probably incredibly naive of me, but I think the only way we can combat this is to just be out in the open and say, like, I don't care what you're going to do. I'm going to say what I want to say. I won't let you be censored, or I won't let myself be censored. That's kind of why I'm not really anonymous online.
Same.
Balls, crazy balls, you too.
The thing is, I don't really have much to lose. Like, I don't have like a PMC job or anything where that kind of stuff would get me fired. So I'm just like, fuck it. I'm just going to go ahead and say what I want.
Yeah, I haven't really thought it through. Because like I just like started going and it like spiraled out of my control, and I was like, oh shit. Where is this going to get me in trouble?
Yeah, and then like people found my Instagram, and then they like found my family and found out what my family does, and it's super weird. I'm like, okay, but I was kind of inviting that possibility by not being anonymous, but now that it's happened, there's no closing the Pandora's box. I'm just gonna keep going, because fuck it, cancel culture.
I respect that a lot. I respect I think you're right. I think people need to people need to see other people do that, and then they can find like they don't want to participate. Like, well, there's a bunch of sickos that do want to participate in it because it makes them feel better about themselves. But there's plenty of people that like, you know, have similar thoughts and are just scared of getting normies. They're just scared of like getting the repercussions. So I think it is like, it makes them like less anxious about it if they're like, oh, somebody else can do this. Like,
I think that's the only way that we can really combat it, is to just not live in fear. I don't know.
Absolutely. I totally agree. I think it's important. I think I think it's totally important. I'm staying anonymous though, but
just be like, I'm not letting you like weird sick freaks dictate the rules of this. You know, I'm going to carry on expressing my opinions, and if you want to bully me or harass me, that's your prerogative, but that doesn't bother me because I'm just saying what I want to say.
So all the femcells hate you guys.
Oh god, that's a problem.
Yeah. I was talking about femcells the other day with a friend who had never heard the term. I don't know. I feel like femcells just a volcel, and I was talking about how it's the inverse because
logically.
a Volcel, like with a Volcel, and it's all about aesthetics. It's like their standards are way out of their league a lot of the time. And I think it's the same thing with a femcel though, but it's not necessarily about like looks or aesthetics. It's about like you have to do the right kind of self-flagellation and the right kinds of like penance and the right kinds of like denouncing your patriarchal privilege. So which
a lot of guys just aren't gonna fucking do. I'm sorry. And like guys don't want to date like woke girls because they're fucking annoying.
Speak on it.
It's also condescending. Like, I'm sorry, when I meet a woke guy, the amount of like woke guys I've literally just like yelled at because it's so patronizing. It's like, I need to make space for you. I need to fuck off. Like, fuck on.
The woke guys can literally be the most like sexist and most like hostile towards women. I've only experienced like that kind of hostility from men who call themselves feminists. Like the more like in the middle normie or like even conservative guys actually treat me like a person and listen to what I have to say without being hostile.
Yeah, and there's studies that show that the woke guys, the white knights, have weak dick. There's a correlation between that. Toxic.
Really?
No, I mean,
okay. Oh my, I believed that.
I mean, that makes
we
don't need a study. We don't need a study.
You don't even need a study.
I wouldn't know, but I've heard that. I don't know.
It's self-evident. But yeah, I think that these like femcells are women who think that they're owed not only sex, but they're also owed like loving long-term relationships. But the thing is, we don't live in a world where a woman's value is solely on her like reproductive abilities or the fact that she's a woman. We live in a world where a woman will need to rely on and cultivate much more than just her looks. Like to attract a quality man, you have to have a good personality. You have to, have hobbies and be curious and compassionate and kind and not fucking annoying or bitter, and that's what they just don't understand. They're like, like he won't pick me, but the thing is, it's because you're obnoxious, It's not about you being like a feminist or whatever. It's about like you just literally being having a repulsive personality. Yeah,
exactly. No, it really is that. I mean, it's not even to do with just feminists. It's just anybody that's like a super wokey. They're just miserable people to be around.
They are.
Every situation is just like it's always some war going on between people. It's always like, well, this is done. It's like, yo, man, like give me a break. Like,
well, and they're always largely unwilling to like work on themselves and the faults that they have as well because they think they've already got it figured out because like they know
and that's something that we tell male incels all the time. Like you have to work on yourself. You have to like work out and get a hobby and read books. But they don't tell like women to self-improve, because they think that they're just entitled to it.
Yeah,
but
like everyone needs to, and like even to have a relationship, you have to put in work at that level as well. Like you can't just improve yourself and expect it to happen like everything fall into place like a goddamn Judd Apatow flick or something either. Like you have to like work at relationships and interpersonal relationships with friends, platonic or relationships or whatever, and that's just how you have to be a human. People just like want to look for some quick like guide to how they can luck into like the best scenarios for them, and it's like, no, you actually have to just work at trying to put yourself into the scenarios in which you want to be in.
Yeah, I think it's definitely really heavily related to the asocialness that creates recording interactions and everything. And there's no cultivation of interpersonal relationships whatsoever. And I think a lot of people have band-aided that with this like very pathological codified idea of how you should think and feel and try to relate on that level. And it's very much circulated around these like victim narratives. And normal people, like normal people that are fairly decently adjusted don't want to be looked at as a victim. And they don't want to see the people that they love as a type of victim.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
Like we're all victims, right? Like that's just there's just big, powerful external forces at play that dictate most of our lives. Like that's just the state of things. But everybody knows this, and it's like for you to like nobody wants to be around somebody who's constantly like, "Woe is me," victimizing themselves.
Adults is like recognizing that and then moving past it and like going on with
and
your
take
life.
responsibility for what you can take responsibility for. You know, like try. Don't just sit there in your own shit and like say like, look what everyone's doing to me. You know, you can do something.
Yeah, exactly. Just on a visceral level, like people don't like being around that shit. People don't like hearing that shit. I mean, like, you have to know. I mean, you don't want to be a moron. Yeah, I mean, you don't want to be a moron and not know that there's these structures at play. You should know that.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, like you can't be like, you know, I stubbed my toe because of white supremacy or the patriarchy. You know what I mean? Like you gotta fucking.
I just don't even want to hear about you stubbing your toe at all in the first place. Just like fuck that shit up and move past it like the rest of us, dude. Jesus Christ.
That's not anyone else's business, you know?
Right. Well, and that's what I say too. Like when you have to just take control of what you do have, I am extremely passionate about the fact that like people need to fucking get out. Like put on something that makes you feel hot.
Yes.
Have a good night. Go interact with people. Like flirt. Get someone to buy you a drink. Like have a good time. Control what you can. Live. I don't know.
And
get out of your fucking house.
It does have a lot to do with like physical attractiveness, you know? And I think that's another problem with these femcells. Like they see women like me and Cass and like maybe Bimbo Ubermensch, like kind of being happy in our femininity and our womanhood. Not even femininity. We just express it. We express ourselves in different ways, but like being like talking about being hot, and then they're like they're not even that hot, you know, like that's just a cope because they aren't hot and they don't understand how being hot can actually or not even hot but just being confident, you know.
Like I do have a theory that everyone could be at least a 6 if they try and with the right confidence. I do. I believe that.
I think there's something to that. Yeah, I think I've seen a lot of glow ups where it's like, holy shit, how did that happen? So it's like, yeah, there's definitely like there's a route. There's definitely a route.
Like choosing the right haircut, wearing the right makeup that flatters you, clothes, attitude, working out, whatever.
Like a lot of guys, if you're on the computer too much or something, you know, get yourself like a nice like duster, maybe like a fedora, something like that. If you wear like a lot of like leather bracelets, that's a good look.
A lot of accessories.
Yeah, like a bangle of some sort around your wrist. That's
cargo
cool.
shorts. Yeah.
I can't. Cargo shorts for sure. Can't emphasize this enough. Also, if you don't own one, get a kilt. Be a kilt guy. Women want to ask you about it at the park.
Yodel.
Learn how to yodel to get laid.
No, it's true. Yeah. I mean, it's definitely like it's just this bitterness, and I mean, you know,
absolutely. It's like, and it comes from like not feeling seen. I think a lot of these people, and that comes from being stuck inside. So it all circles back around.
The confidence shit does a lot too. Like there's like girls that were like I've seen that were like hot, but like they just had this attitude that just like I was just like all right, like I don't know, it's
absolutely
putting a dampening the whole thing. But like, you know, there's other girls who like just the attitude will change, will do a lot in itself. So it's like that's another dimension to it.
You just have to stop comparing yourself to other women, other people in general, because you have to realize you are who you are, and you can be pretty fucking amazing if you put in the work and if you have the right attitude. You don't have to be amazing in the same way that other girls are, you know?
Well, and that's why I think it's very sad, because a lot of the times it's not even necessarily that you have to put in the work. It's really, I really feel bad. I do, because I think it's really just seeing what is good about you, because I think there are a lot of good things about a lot of people. And it really just comes from insecurity a lot of the time. Like I hate to sound like so pastiche, but there's so much to be said about that.
Well, self-validation is not a thing that's valued at all. Like people don't value that shit. Like everything, and that's what all the victimization and the woke shit is like you need your validation from white people or from men or blah blah blah. You need it from other, and the thing is, if you have real self-validation, you don't need that shit.
Yeah,
You really don't. I mean,
exactly.
like you know, that's the thing is they don't like encourage that in like younger people or anything, and that's why all these kids are fucked up in the head. They're on Instagram and shit all the time, like miserable. They're like, fuck, everybody's like better than me, and I'm like with all these filters and shit, and I'm miserable. And then woke ideology is perfect, and all this shit this is perfect because then you can say then you can medicate that misery. You know what I mean?
Well,
something that's not real.
Yeah, on the validation thing, I was saying the other day to people, like, that's why you don't really see like really hot people bitching about how much they get catcalled online. Like, they don't make a public thing about how often they get catcalled because it's always like a soft brag to be like, look at this validation I got. And it's very, it's
and
looking
they try to like turn it around and say like, look how gross this is. It's like, come on, you probably enjoyed it a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sorry, is that like awful for me to say?
No, it's not at all, because it's only specific types of people that bitch about it online.
Bella says to go out and catcall women. They're going to love it.
Let's go.
Green light. You see.
Green light.
Honestly, like the only women who are going to complain about being catcalled are the ones who are insecure and want to like make it known that someone thought they were attractive.
Yeah. I mean, I'll hear like hot people bitch about it maybe like with friends, but the only people that actively post about it often are very insecure.
Yeah. It's just the truth.
I'll DM, I'll be like, I thought you were cool with that. I thought it was all good. And then on timeline complaining about it, and I'll be like, damn, miscommunication.
I think one issue with a lot of these people though too is that the framing of like self-acceptance is like really unhealthy and bad in that it's always just like you right now in all of your aspects are like great, beautiful, and perfect and everything, right? And it's close, right? And I think that the people that are usually like taking the piss out of that also have it wrong because it's close, right? But you as you are right now, right? Like you don't feel good about yourself. Your current self doesn't make you feel good in some basic mechanical ways, right? And you're going to continue to hate yourself because that self-love and it clicking for you isn't coming, right? It doesn't come like the people tell you, right? And I think like the more useful way of framing it is it's just that like it's like the present is pregnant with the future, right? Like inside of all of us is this little egg that can be our future self that is great, right? Yeah. And like that's always in you, that's always present. And so like in that way, like yes, you are great because you possess this little possibility for the future. You like running around your house naked, eating fucking Haagen-Dazs all day, like isn't great and beautiful. That's bad, but like it is great that even in all of those moments when you're right. Oh my God, that's fucking
self-care.
That is more destructive than punching yourself in the face on a camera.
Seriously,
like that. In all of those moments, though, you still always had that little egg in you that could hatch of just like the best version of yourself, and it's always there.
Yeah,
and you should
that's
be.
like that's a cope. It's a cope. It's like feeling like it has to be like a perfect. I don't know. I think just embracing the idea that we are constantly like changing and growing and evolving and being not satisfied with who you are, but satisfied with that state of being. I think is a really beautiful thing to find.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, totally. And I think that like on the left there is just like a love and a celebration of just ugliness generally, and I don't just mean body
yes,
just like degenerative like shit in general. Like
exactly, they're like ambulance chasers.
A large part of like the self-love thing, especially like on the left, is pushed is like to just embrace and lean into like unhealthy characteristics or bad qualities. Like it's like an overcorrection for just saying like, hey, don't be a dick to a fat person, man. It's like instead of that, it's like, hey, you should like think that fat people are hot as fuck and that's healthy. And you're like,
It's somebody making hay out of consumption habits.
Yeah.
That's what it fucking is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
don't lean into your
Yeah.
bad qualities. Like, just celebrate the good ones and try to like do good with those and like know how to carry yourself. But don't lean into everything because like everyone does some things that are shitty and like try to
Overcorrection.
minimize that. Like,
Yeah, it's overcorrection for sure.
Yeah, or like
think this,
having
like-
it's
go ahead.
transphobic to like have a genital preference, you know, like that sort of thing. It's like it's just all about
That's just
categorizing
fucking
people.
crazy.
It's just weird, you know. It's just not how human sexuality works.
I want to meet a girl with a big honking fucking cock. That's what I'm looking forward to. Yeah, absolutely. Things that straight men say all the fucking time, all through history. Absolutely. I think that this also gives like a big opening to like people on the right that like that have that kind of like Bronze Age pervert aesthetics first approach of just like if your political opponent is just obsessed with just like all of just like the most miserable and ugly things in life, then like you get a really great opportunity to just position yourself as synonymous with just all the things that are beautiful in the world. And like beauty and like I do believe that like beauty in the natural world is an indication of truth, right? And like that's a pretty good position to be in, that your opponents just kind of hand to you on a silver platter. Because like the leftist position literally is just like that voice within you that tells you something is just kind of beautiful in some transcendent way. That's a policeman in your head that you must destroy, right? Like that's
God, it's so gross.
yeah, and honestly, like they're setting themselves up with like a hell of a hill to climb with that when it comes to just like popular politics.
You're like, no, that's just like a human basic heuristic that's actually pretty helpful. Like, if something acts like shit and looks like shit, it's probably fucking shit.
Right.
No,
as
people
that.
like pretty things. Sorry.
Right,
Yeah.
like going to the Grand Canyon and like feeling inspired by the natural beauty, and then giving yourself 10 lashings for your internalized white supremacy.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the self-love thing, because that's a good contrast with the self-validation thing, because I feel like that's two different things. And it's like, I mean, the self-validation thing to me is just like you're okay with yourself. That's different than like narcissism. It's not really a narcissism. It's like, you know, you got problems, but you don't act like your problems are good. You know that joke.
Yeah. Well, the left is really good at taking good things that we should aim for, but doing them slightly wrong in a way that makes it worse.
Yep.
Yeah.
I
Taking the whole
noticed.
thing.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Like you should, be aware of your problems and like, try to work on it, and like, you can accept it and not think that you're, irredeemable person because of those things. That's different than being like, yo, those bad things I do is actually great. You know what I mean? Like the whole, like the joke of like girlfriends enabling each other's shitty behavior. Be like, I crashed this car. I like cheated on my boyfriend. I like did all this shit. And they're like, oh, yes, queen, go off. Like, yeah, you don't want to, that's like the overcorrection we're in now is like, it's like enabling all this shitty shit. It's like, no, like you don't need to say it's a good thing. You can just be like, you don't have to hate yourself for it either. There's miles of middle ground between that. Like, but it's all lost. But I don't know. I mean, it's just weird. Like I don't really see people just being like, even the trans thing in general. Like, I mean, I don't want to stick on this, but like, like, you know what I mean? Like all that stuff of like, all the pronouns and all this stuff is seeking validation from other people. Like, damn, like you don't need validation from other people. Like, if you really believe you're that, then shit, be good on that.
Fragile is
Normalizing
your
everything.
thing. It needs to be protected like that. You know?
And normalizing everything is boring. Sorry.
Yeah.
It is.
It is.
Well, they want to normalize everything because they can't stand the idea that they're different in some way, or they're doing something that's not the norm or whatever. It's like they got no confidence for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's the big thing. Yeah. It's like shit. Just be fucking weird. Just mind your own fucking business. Do your weird shit. I don't care. Do it. Fucking.
Well, the funniest part too is it's the reliance on other people for self-worth, but then being completely cut off from the external world when it comes to like adopting and mind personally choosing identities that like are just like otherwise participatory and like defined by the people around you and how you contrast with them and things like that, right? Like how would I know like my gender identity or my sexual preference or anything like that if there was no one around me ever?
Oh, yes, that article was fucking great. Yeah,
right. And so you hunker down in the cuck shed for a year to like flatten the curve for 2 weeks, and then you emerge as like some like crazy hyper specific gender identity and sexual orientation. And like, motherfucker, like you haven't been doing anything other than being alone with your thoughts. How do you know any of this stuff, right? Like there are aspects of huge aspects of identity that aren't just like, it's not adopted. It is assigned, right? Just through social interaction. And yeah, no, it's a consumer choice. It's a consumer choice to adopt all of this shit.
Yeah, that was a Time magazine thing, I think, or New Yorker. I forget what. Maybe New Yorker was like that one. That. Yeah, she was just like, normally I have to correct waiters about my pronouns and I have to like announce this or whatever. But now I'm not out, so I don't have to like dress certain way, present a certain way. Like I don't have to correct anybody about anything. The pronouns in the Zoom call, like I have no way of like showing that I'm this identity, and I have no one to like confirm that yes, you are this identity. So like, how do I even know? It's like, yeah, that's kind of like the problem with all identity, and which is why you should not put too much stock into it. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's like they can't make that connection. Like,
no, it's like these people. It's like the Mowgli thing, right? Like there was some girl that like lived in the fucking wild for like most of her life or something, right? And she comes back, she's like socialized to be like fucking wolves, dude. Like you would be, there are infinite number of people that you could have ended up being in your life, right? And it depends on everything around you. If you just lock yourself in the pod, you're not gonna. Well, anyways, I'm just repeating myself.
Yeah, it's a fetishization of being alone and this atomized way of being, and it's also just this almost deeply conservative desire for there to be like an essence that you're basically born with. I mean, even the whole like born this way narrative, it's very deeply conservative in a lot of ways. Like I am this fixed being that is this way, and if you deny my truth, then you're doing a violence. There's something very stringent about that.
Right. Like the soul, the existence of the soul is huge to the left, right? And this complete one of the biggest unhealthy things that I see, like I'm talking earlier just about like the left is like fucking like ambulance chasers. The complete separation of the body from the mind and the self is like really bad. That's not
bad.
Yeah, that's bad. Yeah.
Could you expand on that? Like, what do you mean by that specifically?
I mean, just like,
what do you mean?
Just like I am a consciousness trapped in a flesh prison kind of approach to everything, right?
It mirrors almost like Christianity type shit, where it's like, I'm not actually like, my home isn't here on earth. My home isn't like with heaven, in heaven with God and stuff. Where it's like they think of themselves as like the body is like a limiting factor that's just keeping them from being their true self. And it's like, no, motherfucker, your body is more than just like a vessel that you inhabit. Your body is your physical makeup for the time being.
That is
how you interact with the people around you and the world around you.
Yeah, we don't know how to exist in a body, and that's why I always say, like, when people are like, oh, hot facts summer, we're gonna be hedonistic and have all this sex or whatever, like the sex even is so sexless. It's so disembodied. It really is. It's like you don't know how to like be in a body and feel good about it and have a body. It's so sad.
It's just like a list of actions going through the motions. People are like, yeah, this is normal to do. Yep, I'm going to do a lot of that this summer.
Right. All that they have in their sex at all is just their like highly politicized demonstrations of acceptance. Right. And it's like that's all it is. Right. It's just like that's the ultimate erotic fantasy. Is just like you and your partner just become just fucking horrible blobs that are completely genderless. You can't even stand the sight of each other. And you just kind of plug your nose while you just go in for the work. And like in this moment I am accepted. My partner does a growth for me. Just not a physical one.
Just wallow around in each other's filth a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
Every step of the way.
It's just it's like sex is basically just like the equivalent of like of taking a bite out of like a really really shitty meal that one of your friends made you, and just like and just like acting like it actually tasted good and be like, oh yeah, no, that's good. It's a nightmare.
Yeah, I mean, how good could it be? Like, you're ever with someone and like you could tell they're just too much in their head, or they're too much perceiving like how you're perceiving them, and it's just like way too much and just fucks up the whole vibe of it. It's just like, absolutely, yeah.
Also, if you're not taking fucking good care of yourself, it just mechanically isn't going to go all that well.
Hair friction, yeah, exactly.
All kinds of dysfunction. It's not good, folks. It's not good. Go to the gym.
Yeah,
Go to the gym. Go for a run.
Clean your room, bucko.
Take a cold shower. Well, we're talking about the chaos there. All right, it's not bloody funny, CRK.
Or if you're a girl, get rid of things that don't spark joy. Whichever one applies to you. You know.
Oh my god.
Well, for them that'll be men, so don't give them any good ideas.
Right.
Okay, anyone who says men don't spark joy are coping, but maybe that's short-sighted.
The femcel, you guys are aggravating the fuck out of the femcel. It's not gonna go over well.
Yeah.
On one hand, you're right, but on the other, I'm an incredibly toxic person, so I'm conflicted.
Okay, but like, who doesn't like to go flirt at the bar, Like, that sparks joy. And I mean, I guess you could flirt with girls too.
Well, and like, even just talking about deriving some sense of enjoyment or empowerment from embracing your innate femininity or your innate human sexuality is seen as like reductive or regressive in feminism. And like, I don't think it is at all.
That shit's so weird. Like, I guess I haven't seen too much of that, but like, I guess that's some weird shit, man.
Like, women have so much power, and of course, not all of it is wrapped up in our sexuality. But I'm just gonna say, like, women have been able to like end wars by withholding sex from their partners.
Chirac.
I mean, it's just a huge part of it, and feminism wants to like completely erase that. And I mean, that's just a big part of just being human, I think, Yeah,
the androgynous shit. It's just like, I mean, I'm not like super, like some of my more like bro-y friends who like UFC and Rogan or whatever, they'll always be like, evaluating, how high T or low T they see in a given moment or whatever. They're always doing
that's
that.
Weird.
Yeah, that shit is weird too. But like,
it's weird.
I still know I'm a dude. Like, I know that I like certain things because I'm a dude. I know I've like, whether naturally or through conditioning, I like certain things because of that. I mean, it's fine. Like, I can accept that. I don't have to deny that or like pretend like, I don't know. I don't have to be like, it's like when I'm in Brooklyn or whatever, and I'll be like, oh, I'm going to the gym, and like certain people, like lib people, will look at me weird, and they'll be like, oh, you're like a pro. What the fuck are you talking about? Like, this shit is weird, man.
I don't
know.
Human like body. That's how you're supposed to operate. What do you mean?
Yeah, it's all anti-human shit, anti-physical shit. It's like, yo, dude, like, I'm like, this is I'm in this body, like, you know what I mean? It's guiding my thoughts and my
you're
impulses.
Supposed to pick shit up and put it down, bro. And I sit at a computer. So where am I supposed to do that other than the gym? What?
Yeah. It's not supposed to define you like in everything you do. It's not supposed to be like, everything you do, you're putting in the framing of your own gender. Like, you don't have to do that. But just running away from it is fucking weird. Shit is super weird. It's you have to deliberately do that because it's not intuitive. You have to really be like trying hard to do that, like 24/7. I don't get that.
And the thing is, like, opposing and running away from something and having that like angst and making that guide your decisions is the same exact impetus as completely listening and being submissive to something. It takes away your agency in the same exact way.
Yeah, it's reactive.
Yeah. That's the thing. Yeah, it's the self-validation thing. You just gotta be cool with yourself and just accept your thing, like whatever you're given with. It doesn't have to be all defining for who you are, but like, I mean, again, they want everybody like bipolar with bipolar 2 disorder. They want everyone like manically, like narcissistic, self-love shit or like fucking self-loathing. Like it's what they want everybody, because it's the one that is easily marketed to or like controlled. I mean, they don't want you to just be like content. Like that's there's no use in that for them,
right?
For people to
just
be like
keep ingesting all of this fucking horrible food, right? And just like
the bugs.
all of these fucking Guardian articles of like, don't lift weights or else you'll become a fucking reactionary.
A Nazi.
Yeah, keep following all these prescriptions, and then all of your malignant thoughts that follow you around every fucking waking moment of your day because you're putting trash into your body and getting trash out. That's probably just the product of systems of control around you, and nothing. It's funny because I'm sounding very like individualistic, and I think that individualism is like a big problem in everything in the West and everything. But at the same time, like just like with all fucking leftist horseshit, like they take like the little kernel of truth that it once had, and then they just expand it to justify horrifying shit. And so like, yes, like having a little bit more of an individualistic view of like, I don't even know if I want to say it's individualistic, but just in any case, like the reason you're fucking miserable isn't patriarchy. The reason you're fucking miserable is because like you're like abusing yourself. Like you need to think of yourself as someone that like you're tasked with taking care of, which is like literally a Jordan Peterson thing.
Well, I think that there's a problem with individualizing the political and pathologizing the personal. So it's this attempt to kind of make blanket statements about interpersonal relationships, which should be completely individualized. And you see it even within like legal systems entering, like, of course, there's like with Me Too, there were a lot of things that like needed to be addressed, but there's also things where like, oh, I was in a relationship and I realized that like it was extremely toxic and I wasn't necessarily consenting to everything that happened. Like the state entering on this thing that is extremely, extremely personal. And then the flip side of that is making the personal, it's the inverse of what it should be.
You can't bring something like that into a court of law where you have to use precedent and shit like that, because it's like relationships are predicated upon like the individuals within them. So oftentimes, like when something like that happens, that's just part of being in a relationship that's going bad. And like sometimes shit goes bad. Sometimes things fall apart, but like it doesn't ever look pretty usually. And like if you just bring all that under a court of law all the time, like you're gonna start having crazy precedents to set, like where like just like breaking up with people is gonna be like dangerous. You're gonna have people in like relationships for fucking forever, actually stuck in toxic relationships because they're afraid of like just like letting the relationship fall apart like it does. Like that's how things go.
I'm compiling a list of all the times my girlfriend has initiated sex so that I can take her ass to court if we break up.
Oh my god!
Literally though, that's what people do. And also a lot of the times it's very market incentivized. So if you are in a similar field and you want a restraining order so you can't be on the same job, it's very much an easy way to get ahead in your career. It's very sad. Again, so politicization and marketization of things that are very deeply personal because we don't have a sense of the personal.
Right. Well, it's also just like a completely emphasizing just only the same things that would be present in markets, and just having those be our only guiding lights in like sexual encounters and things like that, of just like the only thing that matters is that there is consent, right? The only thing that ever matters is consent. Just like we're two autonomous individuals just entering into a deal together, right? As opposed to just all of the other things that could potentially be going on, right? It's a really, really flat way of looking at interpersonal relationships.
And it's like it's based entirely on like cold, aloof, like matter of fact intellectual intellect rather than like the deep visceral emotions that should be dictating your relationships, you know. Right. And I think that's driven by the world that we live in today, which is more cold and calculating and detached, and kind of incentivizes us to view everything in more cold, detached ways, you know, like a calculation rather than just a human experience that's nuanced.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think a calculation is a really good word. It's very very almost computerized in a lot of ways. It's not, I don't think it's instinct nor intellect. It's like very machinic.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's being too much in your own head and just like, what is that? The thing the right wingers always say is like over socialized. I didn't really know what that meant before, but like, it makes sense. Yeah. It's like, damn, man, you're factoring in way too much shit. You're factoring in way too much, like, you know, optics online and like, you know, different milieu, like social milieu shit like that you're not even involved in. Like, why you're doing like mad arithmetic just to like live, like just relax, chill the fuck out.
It's like when people break up and you're like, well, who's going to be able to hang out with the friends because they're both of our friends and we don't want that. But instead it's before you date and it's like, will our friend groups merge well? You think this is going to be a good pairing for our whole corner of life? Like,
there's legal talk, there's divorce court talk.
Mergers and acquisitions with relationships.
Prenup, friends.
Ideas on it. You're bringing everyone in. You gotta take some over-unders on how long this is going to last.
Book easy.
Hey, honey, did you get that TPS report I sent over to you?
Oh my God.
The dog is the HR department.
But yeah, I think the key takeaway from what we're talking about is people need to stop being ugly, stop being unattractive. Just cut it out. Just cut it out. I think that's the real main takeaway.
Look good and enjoy yourself.
Everyone can be at least a 6.
Yo, now I think about that really does make sense. I think there's truth to that. I've seen it a couple times. It happens.
It's incredibly
with how many
true.
factors there are, like many of which just not even being that particularly physical. Yeah, everybody can be a 6. Maybe not everybody can be a 6 in like, you know, on like video.
Not in New York. Yeah.
It, like for some people, some people
you gotta adjust for inflation in New York.
Yeah,
there's something to that.
For real.
But like, yeah, I mean, maybe some people, you know, they need to get a conversation going. But like, yeah, dude, I think everybody can be a 6 easy.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And like, I think more people need to just realize that we're all people. And I know that sounds really like simple and lame, but it really gets to the root of like what's driving all this alienation of young men and women, especially in dating and femcells and incels. They just tend to view the opposite sex as like an entirely different and indecipherable species. But like at the end of the day, we're all humans.
Feminoids, right? The feminoids.
Well, and again, like this whole reduction of just like I'm just a ghost in a shell, right?
Yeah.
And like you know, ladies, like you and me were the exact same. One of us just, you know, I just got a different shell than you guys and everything, right? It breaks down. It clearly, I mean, we're seeing the outcome of this like in real time. Like it breaks down any way of understanding gender dynamics or how we play off of each other, right? And so you just have people that like fucking absolutely hate women, and you have women that are going around saying men are trash and everything. And it's just like, and it's like, no, like there is a little bit of conflict in sexual relations between men and women, right?
Absolutely.
And if you have no analysis that is no, exactly. And if your worldview just completely cuts that out, then like the dissonance of just like your ideology when it makes contact with reality will have some bad outcomes and probably make you think that all women or men are trash. It's unattainable.
I mean, that was kind of like the post that got me like canceled a few weeks ago. I mean, just like the polarity of like, you know, femininity and masculinity. You don't even need to like be feminine if you're a woman, and you don't even need to be masculine if you're a guy. But like, it's about like how they play off of each other, how like despite the very real differences between men and women, they're complementary differences, you know, and like that's kind of like how it works.
Well, and people, I think, within the context of that conversation, think only aesthetically and completely ignore like personality dynamics that are considered feminine and masculine. And there's like something about that push and pull with different personalities. Like you can look like very like androgynous, but also have very masculine or very feminine energy. So there's so much that goes into the cultivation of a person.
Yes, that's exactly like, that was my intention behind that tweet. Yeah. And like a lot of people just assumed I was talking about like appearance androgyny, when really that's not what I was talking about at all. You know, people can present however they like, but it's much more about personality and affect and, you know, aesthetic, or, you know, just how you operate and interact with the world.
Yeah, all of it together.
Yeah, that reaction was mad funny. They're just, oh, you're transphobic or whatever. Like, oh, I'm trans and I'm hot or whatever. It's just like, damn.
I've called trans like 3 times. I don't know what the deal is with that.
Yeah, I think there's just some major cope.
We're playing with fire here, folks.
Yes, people were posting selfies. Like, damn, man, you really gonna post a selfie? Like, you don't need to post a selfie.
You're not making the point you think that you are.
Yeah.
Dude, every day, I am just taken aback. I log onto the internet and I am just distracted and just constantly needing to go to the bathroom to jerk off by just how freaking unbelievably hot and passing all of these trans women are. It's ridiculous. They need to tone it down.
Yo, I saw that crash coming in slow motion. That shit was coming in slow motion.
We gotta cut my mic because
I'm cutting it right now. I don't even have the file. I'm cutting it right now.
Guys, I don't understand why you guys are laughing right now. I'm completely serious. What would be funny about this?
Damn, you called me. Shut up the trap. Yeah. But yeah, this is good. I think we got a good amount in. But yeah, this is great. Thanks for coming on. And yeah, I mean,
thanks for having us.
Yeah,
this was
thanks
fun.
for having us.
Yeah, I want to make it clear. Like, I still hate white women. I still have a fatwa on white women. I never stop. But I like you guys. Bella and Cassidy are great. I like you guys.
We're the exception, right?
Absolutely. I just need you guys to, you know how when like this terrorist attacks on the right wing would be like, yo, we need the Muslim community to denounce this shit. I just need you guys to denounce white women more, and then, you know, that's all I'm asking for.
Oh my god.
But otherwise, you guys are good in my book.
I'm a white woman and I'm proud. Sorry. No, I'm kidding. I literally don't like have any identitarian attachment to the term white woman. I'm just white and I'm a woman. That doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
I'm just chilling.
Yeah. I'll make fun of Karens too, because I know I'm not one. So.
Right.